Awesome. Well, good morning, or actually good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our 7th annual LiftMaster seminar. My name is Matt Mackler, CEO of Service Spring Corporation. I'm 4th generation in our family-owned and operated company's business history. We're going now on 56 years in the industry, which is kind of exciting. And as you guys know, being Service Spring customers, we pride ourselves first and foremost in our customer service and being the supplier of choice for you guys. So everything that we do, we continue to look and find ways to add value to what you guys do and to work hard to earn your business day in and day out. So each year we put on these LiftMaster seminars, and we continue to get great feedback and hear a lot of good positive reviews on what are the next seminars that we should do, and as well as what you guys have taken away from it. And so the reason why we put on these seminars, ultimately, like I said, we're a company that's been in business for 56 years, and we just want to be able to leverage the industry experience we have, as well as be able to leverage our great partners like LiftMaster to be able to bring high quality seminars for you guys. So that's a little bit about why we do what we do. I'm going to just do a quick intro here for Dan. So Dan Paco is going to be talking about commercial access systems today. He's going to be doing an awesome training seminar on that. And at the end of this webinar, we're going to have an opportunity to do a Q&A. So those of you that are online, if you guys have some questions, all we ask is just to put your first name and your company name, and then we have somebody online who will be able to hopefully answer those questions real time. If not, just wait until after the seminar is up, and then there's going to be a time for Q&A. So that's what we got. Last thing I just wanted to say is thank you guys for being a part of Service Spring. Thank you for choosing us. We absolutely appreciate it. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn things over here to Dan Paco, and we're going to get started. So let's give him a warm welcome.
Can you hear me? First and foremost, I want to thank Service Spring. I think it's awesome that they put this thing together. And I think it's awesome that I look around and I see a lot of dealers in attendance that are here to learn a few things that can hopefully differentiate you from your competitors. So thanks for coming, and thank you, Service Spring, for putting this on. Again, my name is Dan. I'm with LiftMaster, been with the company for 14 years. I've worn many hats in my tenure here with LiftMaster. I was product quality manager, which is probably where I learned the most. So anytime we had a quality issue, it was my phone that rang. I was the guy that would jump on a plane, go out, and see if we truly had a quality issue or not. After that role, I was the trainer for LiftMaster, so I would travel the country doing these seminars and training people on commercial products. And I've moved on now to a sales role, but I still like helping our dealers, distributors, wherever we can, to help educate our dealers on how our product works and how they can make it work for their customers. So today we're going to be talking about Logic 5. Today we're going to be talking about Logic 5 operators. Logic 5 has been out for a few years. So a lot of this stuff you may know, and hopefully I cover some things that you didn't know that can help you do your jobs out there. This is the power board that you're looking at. This is inside the Logic 5 operator. This is what gives us the dual voltage capability. Okay, so back in the day, when you ordered something from us, you had to know what voltage you were going to be working with, right? You ordered a 115 operator. You get to the site, let's say it's you've actually got 230 volt single phase at the site. That machine wouldn't work. You can make it work, but it was a nightmare to have to rewire the motor, change out a brake solenoid, change out a transformer. So Logic 5 made that a thing of the past. So nowadays, all you have to know is what phase you're working with, and as long as you order that correctly, all you have to do is peel off the right sticker, plug in the motor harness into the right port, you're good to go, right? So it helps in a standpoint of SKU reduction. Now, instead of servicing 2 different operators for potentially 2 different customers, I can stock this one machine that can service both these sites. It also helps you guys that are installers out in the field. Now you don't have to worry about getting that wrong and having to do that conversion out in the field, right? Rewiring the motor, all that difficult stuff. So this makes life easier. I won't do that again. This makes life easier, hopefully, for you guys when you're out there installing our product. So here is how this board breaks down. I'm going to tell you what all is on these power boards. You've got a handful of relays. This is the single-phase power board. These two relays, bottom left, are your direction relays. One fires when the door is opening, one fires when the door is closing. Okay, I can't tell you which is which because it all depends on the orientation of the machine, left, right-handed, all that stuff comes into play here. This little guy top left, we call it a redundant relay. Think of it like a safety relay. When I give this machine a command to run, before these relays can send power out to the motor, it goes through this redundant relay. The reason we have that is for safety, right? Let's say one of these welds itself shut. So now it's a dead short going straight to the motor. We put an extra relay in the line, in the circuit, to prevent that motor from overheating, potentially causing a fire, right? So it's just an additional step to try and help keep everybody safe. You guys, your customer, everybody. This last relay, top right, is a start relay. Not sure if you guys knew this or not, but we took out the start switch, the centrifugal switch from our motors. It's been about 10 years now, so it's been a while. But we removed that start switch and we relocated it to the power board. Okay, so when I give a machine a command to run, this start switch closes a contact. Now the capacitor dumps everything it's got into the motor, helps get it to full speed. Once that machine is up to full speed, this relay opens up that circuit, dropping out the capacitor. How do you guys think our machine knows when it's at full speed? What sends a signal saying, okay, you're at full speed, you can drop out the capacitor? The start windings, in effect. The RPM sensor inside the machine, right? So you've got an RPM sensor. Once the RPMs are at full speed, there's logic in the board that tells it, okay, I'm at full speed, you can drop out that circuit. So that's how it all comes together. And I'll show you more on that here, how the RPM sensor can affect the motor and how the motor sounds. And we'll do that here later on in the presentation. All right, so again, direction relays open and close. You got your redundant or a safety relay, and then you got your start relay. Your brake harness. If this machine had a brake, and you guys can't see it, but if it had a brake and it doesn't, you would see a harness plugged in. The harness has 4 wires coming out of this connector. Now, historically on our product, you only have 2 wires. This one has 4. Why the extra wires? Can anybody tell me? It's because of the dual voltage capability. We had to change that. So remember, this guy can do both 115 and 230. So because of that, we had to come out with a new solenoid that was also dual voltage. And there's actually 2 coils on that solenoid. You got a 115 side, you got a 230 side. Depending where I'm plugged in down here, it knows which 2 wires to feed power to. So that's how it all comes together. Let's say you're at a site that has, it's a Logic 5 operator and the 115 solenoid on it failed, right? It's bad, so you got to replace it. And you don't have a dual voltage solenoid on the truck, but I have a 120 or 115 solenoid on the truck, right? So it's not dual voltage, but it is the correct voltage that I need. You can make that part work. Only thing you need to know is which 2 wires to grab. You got to grab the correct ones, right? The way to remember this is the 2 pins or wires closest to 115 are your 115 wires, and the 2 closest to 230 are your 230 wires. So as long as you grab the correct wires, and I would cap off the other 2, put some tape on them, a wire nut, but you can make that work, and it'll work just fine. That's a little trick. Hopefully that helps you guys out when you're out in the field. Any questions so far? Okay. And then, of course, you got your 2 plugs for the motor harness. We don't plug this in from the factory for you. We There's no way we can know what voltage you're gonna use. So that's an extra step that you guys have to do. Now Logic 5 has been out for a while, but when we first launched, that actually created a lot of calls for us. We've got a call center, we monitor all the calls and the activity that we're seeing, and that was a big driver is, hey, I got this machine, I landed my power wires, turn on the breaker, I get no lights. They were missing this step to plug in the motor harness. And if that's not plugged in, you're not gonna see any lights. So anybody here that hasn't worked with Logic 5, that's something to be aware of. That's a step that you have to do. These trolley and GH operators that have the rectangle box, it's kind of in your face, it's easy to see. But if you're dealing with a J or an H operator, it's the cube style, this board is tucked in behind the main logic board. It is hard to see. I can see how somebody would miss that step if they're not used to working on our product. All right, so next we've got the three-phase power board, right? Looks very similar to single phase. You've got 3 relays that are your direction relays, right? You've got 3 hot legs that come into a 3-phase operator. You got L1, L2, L3. Each one of those hot legs gets its own relay. Depending which ones close the contact, feeding power to the motor, it's gonna turn a certain way, right? Either open or close. What do you guys think this little relay is? What was that? Safety relay. It does the exact same thing on 3-phase as it does on single phase. It's a redundant relay or a safety relay. It closes its contact first. So power comes in through the little guy, then through the big guys out to the motor. And it's just an additional layer of safety that we're trying to add to our product. Aside from that, it's the same. You've got your brake harness, you've got your plug for your different voltages. 208, 230 is one, 460 is the other. Now we do offer a 575 volt version of this, but that one is not dual voltage. That guy is specifically for 575. We don't see that machine too often here in the States, but we do see it with our friends up in the north in Canada. This is the logic board that is inside these Logic 5 operators. Okay, so this is the brains of the operation. Down here at the bottom, you've got your selector dial. From the factory, it is set on C2, Charlie 2. C2 is constant pressure to close, momentary to open. So to close it, I gotta hold my finger on it. That's how we send you the machine. The most popular setting that we see is B2, Bravo 2. That one there, I push and release, it's gonna go all the way up. Push and release the button, it's gonna go all the way down. What do I need in order to unlock that setting? What do I have to add to this machine in order to be able to use B2? A monitored safety. Usually comes in the form of photo eyes, right? And we offer a number of different safety sensors. But that's usually what we see. They come included in the box with the operator. Usually you install those safety sensors. We hope you guys are all installing the safety sensors. But then it unlocks all these settings that we're about to talk about here. So you need safety sensors, or a monitored edge would also work to unlock these settings. The next one we have there is D1, Delta 1. That one there is constant pressure both ways, which means I gotta hold my finger all the way up, hold my finger on it to go all the way down. Not used too often. Usually when I see that one used, it's in conjunction with some kind of key switch. A person puts the key in, slides it over to open, and he's got to maintain it there in order to open the door all the way, and same for close. The next one is E2. This one's interesting. A lot of people aren't aware of how this one works or how you can use it to your advantage. E2 is momentary pressure to open, constant pressure to close. But if I let go too soon, so if the door's halfway down and I let go of that close button, that door is going to stop and reverse. It will not sit in the middle. Okay? The way you can use that one to your advantages, and we use it a lot at, think storefront grills, like at the mall, right? If I sell the manager, the store manager, a key switch that's only open and closed, there's no stop button, and I land him on that setting, E2, that door is no longer capable of being stopped in the middle. Its only two stopping points are full open or full close. There's no in the middle, right? He doesn't have a stop button to stop it on the way up, no stop button to stop it on the way down. If he lets go too soon on the way down, it's going to stop and reverse to the full open. Okay? I've talked to dealers that are friends or know people that are architects, and they've used that information. They write that into the spec. Your competitor may not know how to make that happen, how to achieve that, but that's how you can do it, and then you can win that bid. Right now, you got that job. So it's an interesting setting. We do use it a lot, and that's normally where I see it. Again, it's storefront, right? Those grills that they have. All right, the next three settings all have the letter T in it. What does T stand for? Timer, right? All three of these are timer settings. I'm actually going to skip one. I'm going to start with TS. TS stands for timer secure. Timer secure. The way that one works is it's regular timer. Everybody knows how that works. I set it for 10 seconds. Door opens, counts to 10, and starts to close. If I break the beam while the door is closing, the door is going to stop, reverse, and it recycles the timer. It's going to start counting again. Okay? If it takes 100 attempts, it takes 100 attempts. Eventually, it's going to close the door. Okay, now I'm going to back up. The regular T setting is your regular timer. So same thing. Door opens, counts to 10, starts to close. If I break the beam, it's going to stop, reverse, and stay open. Now somebody has to give it a close command. Okay? From those two settings, TS is by far the more popular one. I've programmed hundreds of timers in my day. Every single time I did, I do because I'm still doing it today, I always take them to TS, right? 99.9% of the time, that's what they're after. So TS is the go-to. But you have the option to use T should your customer be asking for that. FSTS. FSTS stands for Fire Station Timer Secure. Fire Station Timer Secure. The way this guy works, and again, think fire stations, it separates commands so that the 3-button station does not activate the timer. But if I've got a panic button or a mushroom button wired into that machine, that one does activate the timer. So it separates them. This one turns your timer on, this one does not. The reason we have that is, again, fire stations. It's a beautiful day, not an emergency, and they want to leave the door open all day. They go to the 3-button station, they hit open, that door's going to stay open. Now they get a call, it's an emergency. They run up to that mushroom button, and you can label it fire, panic, whatever. But if you activate that mushroom button, that one will activate the timer. The door's going to open, it's going to start to count whatever you set it to, 30 seconds, a minute, whatever. And then the door's coming down as they pull out to go put out a fire. Okay? So it separates the commands. The way you separate the commands is the mushroom button wires to SBC. That's all the machine knows. And your regular open button wires to open. Great setting. The firemen that understand how it works love it. But that's the caveat. If we're going to use this setting, I would highly recommend that you guys grab all the firemen you can, grab the chief, whoever can, huddle them around you and explain to them, this one's going to turn your timer on, this one will not. Because if they don't understand that, they're not going to make the connection. All they know is that sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and then you guys are getting the phone call. So it's all about educating your customer at that point. Any questions on any of these settings so far? Okay. Next one there is diag. Stands for diagnostics. So this machine stores the last 10 codes, error codes that it saw. So obstruction sensed on closing, right? I broke the beam. That could be a code. RPM fault. There was something wrong with the RPM sensor, the belt slip, whatever. But it's going to store all these codes. You can use it to troubleshoot if you've got a machine that's stumping you. Right? You can't figure it out. You can go there. It's going to start blinking out all these error codes. It'll blink 4 blinks for obstruction sensed on closing, pause, and then the next error code, and so forth. It's going to do the last 10 that were stored. Here's another tip for you guys on how you could use diag. When the machine is in that setting, it is dead in the water. Your remotes will not work it. The 3-button station will not work that machine. There's still power to it, but the motor's not going to run. Now, if you're servicing something on the door or the operator, we highly recommend, LiftMaster recommends you guys kill power, lockout, tag out, right? Kill power to keep you guys safe. I know it's not always possible. At a minimum, let's say you're servicing something not even related to the operator, something with the door, a hinge, something simple. I can put this machine on diag. Now I can go to work, go do what I gotta do. While you're up on that ladder, servicing that part on that door, this machine is not gonna run. That owner that winds the corner that doesn't know that your ladder is up against that door, if he hits the remote control, that door is not gonna run on you. So hopefully you can use that to keep you guys safe while you guys are out there working on our product. Go to diag, do what you gotta do, come back, flip it back to B2, TS, whatever setting you're on. It's gonna remember all its settings, it's gonna go back to normal. All right, next one is option. That setting there is used anytime you've got the TLS1 card plugged in, which is this little guy here. TLS1 card controls traffic lights. I'm not going to spend too much time on him now. We're going to talk about him in a minute. But if I'm using a TLS1 card, I go to option to program all these settings. And the last one there is program. I go to program. Anytime I want to program these 3 in the middle, MRT, mid, and TTC, which we're going to talk about here in a second. All right, the first button there is radio. Okay, radio is obviously used to program remote controls. So, can you guys tell me, is there a difference between programming a remote control to a residential machine than there is programming to this commercial operator? See you nodding. What's the difference? Do you know?
I do know when you are programming, when you got to hit the button, it's 2 times instead of the regular radio.
Correct.
So the instructions are different.
Correct. Correct. So he's right. So there's an extra step when you're programming on these commercial machines that a lot of people aren't aware of. So I'll start with the residential machine. Those are easy. I hit the learn button, hit my remote, I get a click, I get the flashing lights, I'm good to go. I could walk out of that garage, hit the remote, it's gonna work. There's an extra step with these commercial operators. I hit that radio button, I hit my remote control, I've got to hit that radio button again to lock it in. There's that extra step. Or wait 30 seconds, it'll time itself out, and then it'll start working. The reason we do that, because there is a method to our madness, this board can hold 90 remote controls, 90. Let's say you're programming 30 remotes, right? I don't want you to have to hit this radio button 30 times. You hit it once, and you go down the line, remote 1, remote 2, remote 3. Once they're all in, I hit this radio button again, they all just got locked in. Okay? So there is an extra step, but it is there to help you guys when used correctly. All right, next one there is MRT. What does MRT stand for? It stands for Max Run Timer. Max Run Timer.
I know it's Mr. T.
Mr. T. It's not Mr. T. MRT, Max Run Timer. So the way this works is, from the factory, these machines have a 90-second max run timer set on them. What that means is the machine's only going to run for 90 seconds, up to 90 seconds, looking for that limit. If within 90 seconds it doesn't reach it, it's going to assume there was a problem, it's going to shut everything down. Okay? The reason we put that into our boards is, back in the day, think mechanical machines. If an arm broke off the open limit switch, right, so door's closed, I give it a command to open, there is nothing there telling it to stop, and that is something we would see regularly. A limit switch would fail, and the machine would run and run and run, not stopping, and it would destroy the door, it would burn off a belt, it would burn the motor, it would literally run the motor to death till it let out that white smoke, and once it's out, there's no putting it back in. So we put in this MRT that tells it, okay, you're only going to run for X amount of time, 90 seconds is default, and if you don't reach a limit within 90 seconds, it's shutting everything down. 90 seconds is still too long in most applications. So that is a programmable setting that we highly recommend you guys program on every install. Okay, so you install a Logic 5 operator, and it's very simple. You close the door, you go to program, you hit MRT, hit open. It's gonna time how long it took to get to the full open. So let's say it took 20 seconds, right? It's then gonna add a 10-second buffer to that time. So now you got a 30-second MRT. That's a lot more manageable than 90 seconds. If you do have some kind of failure like that limit switch, you're probably, you know, hopefully the clutch is set right and it's gonna slip, but you're not causing as much damage as you were back in the day, right? Where it just ran and ran for minutes, hours, until the motor finally failed. So that's how the MRT works. Next one there is mid. Mid is your mid stop, right? Exactly how it sounds.
One more time, sorry. The MRT, you just hit that button, then you hit your open on there, and it runs, and then you don't have to do nothing else afterwards.
You go back, yeah. So he's asking how you set the MRT. Yeah, you don't have to do anything additional. So program MRT, hit open, it's gonna go open all the way. And then you go back to B2, TS, whatever setting you're on, and it's gonna lock in that time. All right, mid-stop. So mid-stop is exactly how it sounds. I can program a point in the middle of that opening. So if I've got a 20 high opening, but you know, most of my traffic, 90% of my traffic can clear the 10-foot mark, then I can set that mid-stop. And the reason you would want that is usually I see it to retain either cold or hot air, warm air in that warehouse, that building, whatever it is. I generally see it in cold places, right? It's extremely cold outside. They spend a lot of money to keep that building warm. They got the heaters going. So they don't want to go to the full 20-foot opening. They go to the 10-high opening. That's going to save them a little bit of money there. Let's say you want to take it up the rest of the way. So now, you know, the 10-foot mark lets most of my traffic in, but now I got this truck coming in that's 12 high, right? I open that door to the 10-foot mark, hit it a second open command. It's going to go up the rest of the way. So when you need it, you can take it up to the full 20-foot high opening. All right, next one there is TTC, stands for timer to close. So this machine does have that timer built in. Our timers can program anywhere from 1 second all the way up to 64 minutes, so a little over an hour. I've got yet to find the site that needs an hour-long timer, but LiftMaster's got it, should you ever need it. All right, next we got a few LEDs here that can help you troubleshoot. OLS, what does that stand for? Open limit switch, right? CLS, what does that stand for? Close limit switch. SLS, anybody know what that stands for? Oh, safety limit switch or sensing limit switch. I've heard it referred to both ways, safety or sensing limit switch. The way that one works is it is activated when the door is nearly closed. I'm talking inches off the floor. That limit switch gets made. So you're always going to see that safety limit switch light come on right before the CLS comes on, the closed limit switch. The reason we have that there is it basically disables your safeties, right? So the last 2 inches, it's going to kill your photo eyes, your safety edge, so that the door can make that nice seal that we want down on the floor, right? Because if we didn't have that safety limit switch, and let's say I've got an edge at the bottom of this door, the door's going to come down, make contact with the floor, and bounce right back up. So we need it there so that it can tell the board, I'm pretty much closed, you're safe to ignore the edge or ignore the photo eyes. And I'm using the word ignore, it doesn't necessarily ignore them. If a safety is tripped, right, so my photo eyes are tripped, the last few inches, that door is still gonna stop. It's not gonna reverse, and it's not gonna blink out an error code, but it's just gonna stop and sit there. So this was years ago, but I remember I took a trip, it was the easiest trip I ever took. I got a phone call. Guy tells me, hey, 2 inches off the floor, this thing stops every single time. No matter what I do, it stops every single time. I'm on the phone with him, I can't figure it out, so I get on a plane and I go out there. As soon as I get there, I see a rope hanging off the bottom of the door. And what was happening is, as the door's closing, this door would kind of get in the way of the photo eyes, and it would register a safety, so it would just stop and sit there. But the safety limit switch was already made, which is why it wasn't reversing and why I wasn't seeing that error code. So that's one of the characteristics. That's something to look for. Because since that trip, and again, that was 6-7 years ago, I've ran into that a bunch of times where I'll get a call, guy saying, hey, the door stops a couple inches off the floor every time. The most recent one, they had hit the door from the outside in, so it bowed the door in. That bottom strut was sticking in far enough where it was obstructing the photo eye on the way down. It's, in essence, doing the same thing. So it's important to know the characteristics, how the machine is going to behave, right, once that safety limit switch is triggered. Any questions on that? Okay. Mid, if you see that light on, there's a mid-stop programmed and you're at the midpoint. Motor direction. There's a jumper peg on the left there that says motor direction. Let's say you have to reverse the rotation of our machine for whatever reason. I mounted the machine inside out, or I did a through wall modification, right? The machine is on the inside of the building, but the door is on the outside and it ran a chain through the wall. If you do something along those lines, now the machine's running backwards. Back in the day, you had to rewire the motor, change all the limits. Now with that jumper peg, it makes it a 5-minute operation, if that. I take the jumper peg and I put it on reverse. That does two things. It's going to reverse the rotation of the motor, and it's also going to reverse my open and my close limit switch. But the only one it can't do for you is that safety limit switch that we just talked about. Okay? So you have to physically take it off the machine and mount it over on the other side. But it's again, a 5-minute operation, if that. It's easy to do. And it works out well. The only other thing I would tell you is there is a sticker on the electrical box that says open and close for your limits. I would take that sticker off and put it in there backwards. Otherwise, it's only going to confuse you guys or the next tech that works on it. He's going to get there and say, hey, something's wrong here. This thing's running backwards. So change out that sticker, help the next guy out. Single phase and 3-phase. There is a jumper peg on the logic board for single phase and 3-phase. If you get a brand new machine from us, you never have to touch that. Don't worry about it, it's set for you. The only time you ever have to move that is if you're replacing a logic board in a 3-phase machine. Okay? We're going to send you a new logic board, but they're all set on single phase. So when you get it, you have to physically change it to 3-phase. But there is an additional step, a step that a lot of people miss. So you have to power up the machine. It's a 3-phase operator. Power it up on single phase. That jumper peg has to be on single phase. Don't run it. Flip the dial over to program and then move it to 3-phase. If you are not in program when you make that change, it doesn't register. It won't take it. Okay? So that's an extra step that you have to do. And we've got it in the manual, right? The paperwork that comes with that logic board, big bold letters. I know everybody here reads the manual, but a lot of people don't. But we put it big bold letters, hopefully helping you guys out. But that is an extra step. That is something that is missed a lot of times, right? Oftentimes people will miss that one step. It doesn't take, and then they're calling in saying, brand new board, it's not working. So keep that in mind. If you're replacing 3-phase logic boards, that is an extra step that you have to do. Go to program before you move it to 3-phase. All right, next we got 2 plug-in slots up there for any of the option cards that we offer. So the TLS1 card is one of them, traffic lights. CPS3 card is another common one that we use. CPS3 card is in case you want 2 sets of photo eyes on this machine. All right, we can make that happen. Get the CPS3 card, plug it into one of those ports, and now I can have 2 sets of photo eyes that are monitored. What's the difference between a monitored safety and a non-monitored safety? Does anybody know? So a monitored safety means that there's a constant communication between this machine and whatever safety that is. So in this example, it'd be the photo eyes. They're constantly talking to each other. If that communication is broken for whatever reason, this machine knows, hey, I just lost my eyes. It's going to go into a fault. So a non-monitored, the most common one that we see nowadays is that pneumatic edge, right? So pneumatic edge triggered by air, there's no communication. If some kid walks up with a pair of scissors and he cuts the wires to that edge, this machine doesn't know that it just lost that safety edge and it's still going to continue to run, right? And to the unsuspecting owner, end user, whatever traffic we're getting through that door, right? Somebody might think, oh, I'm so protected. They're not, and you would never know. So with the monitored safety, same thing. Kid comes by, cuts the wires with a pair of scissors. This machine immediately recognizes that and goes into that fault. All right, so that's the difference between the two. So again, CPS 3 card with that board, it's going to give you a second monitored safety. Any questions on the logic board? Okay. All right, one more thing I'd like to touch on. So you've got all your terminals where you plug in all your accessories. These two terminals, numbers 2 and 3, are for your interlock. Okay? Normally it's for an interlock switch, so an actual lock that's on the door, one of those slide locks. Right, so door's closed, I slide the lock over, it hits a little paddle. We recommend you install the interlock switch, but there's a paddle on that interlock switch, opens up the circuit on numbers 2 and 3, and it kills our machine so that somebody doesn't accidentally open the door when it's locked. When that happens, you can cause a lot of damage to that door. But if you understand how that works, that anytime, because it's a closed circuit between 2 and 3, anytime that opens up, it's going to disable our machine. You can use that a number of different ways. One way that we use it often is with sally ports, right? So at a prison, I've got 2 doors, and I don't ever want both doors open at the same time. If one is open, the other one has to be closed, and vice versa, right? So that's how we achieve that. We install an extra limit switch on both machines, and I run wires from the limits on machine 1 to the interlock on machine 2 and vice versa. So they kind of disable each other. Anytime one is open, it's going to kill the other one and vice versa. So again, it's a good thing to understand, because once you do, you can use it a number of different ways. All right, next we're going to talk about some of the safety sensors that we offer. So these are the CPS UN4s. Not sure if you guys have worked with these. These are extremely robust. They're tough. They're little tanks. So if you're working in a harsh environment it's gonna be getting wet. They are NEMA 4 rated, so they can get wet. But there's also maybe heavy machinery running around and they're constantly banging into the photo eyes and damaging them. These are the ones you want to go with. Normally, from what I see, these can take that hit and that metal bracket will bend before the actual photo eye itself breaks. They are that robust. That metal bracket will give before the plastic breaks. So it's a good sensor. It works well. Extremely robust. Next, we've got the reflector photo eyes, CPS RPEN4. These work great in that you only have to run wire to one side of the door. You don't have to run wire to both sides. Also, if you mount this sensor on the same side as your 3-button station, run your conduit into the 3-button station, share the common that is already there for your 3-button station. Now you only need one additional wire from this operator down to power up this eye. Now, there are a few tricks with these photo eyes, because I have heard that they're a bit sensitive. There is one thing that I always tell people to look at. You'll see that you've got 4 screws, these right here, on the face of this sensor. And I don't have one here, but the sensor on the inside of that housing can actually oscillate. You can move it back and forth. And if those screws are loose, or if it takes a big enough hit, even if it's in the package and I drop that box, it can knock it out of alignment. So I go to install them and the housing looks straight, but my photo eye could be looking sideways, it's not going to work. So that's something to look for. If you're getting a call and you're having a difficult time aligning them, take a look at that sensor and make sure that it's pointing straight. Loosen up the screws, get them where you want them, and then tighten them back down. All right, next we've got the CPS Open 4s. They've got the rubber feet to them. So these are great in my opinion. They're NEMA 4 rated, NEMA 4X actually, so they're corrosion resistant as well. But they work great. And you saw they've got the rubber feet to them, so they can take a hit and they'll bounce right back into place. So that guy that's sweeping up his shop at the end of the day accidentally bumps into the photo eyes, it's not gonna create that call for you guys on a late Friday night, you know, for a 30-second fix. This one can take that hit, bounce right back into place, and everything works well. They are competitively priced as well. So I think to upgrade to these, so if you buy a commercial operator from us and you want to upgrade to these photo eyes, it's not much more. It's an additional $30, $40, give or take. So it's not that much more to upgrade to these photo eyes, but now you've got a better product out there, hopefully not creating all these nuisance scenarios for you guys. And last, we've got the CPSUs. So these are Old Faithful. I'm sure everybody here has seen them or worked with them. They're a thin plastic. They're not NEMA 4 rated. They work well. They work great. Really can't say too much about them. They're rated for 30 feet. They work well, and these are standard with all the commercial operators that we sell. These are NEMA 4X. NEMA 4X. Oh, distance. He's asking about distance. These go up to 45 feet. So these can handle a wider opening than the standard ones can. Yes. Yeah, so these you'll see, I can loosen up the wing nut and I can take the bracket out to adjust it a little further in and out. And for those that haven't seen it, we'll pass it around for these guys that are in the room. But they work great. These are my go-to normally. Unless, again, it's that harsh environment, then you want to upgrade to the CPS UN4s. Light curtain. Has anybody here worked with our light curtain? Okay, so these work great. We're selling a lot of these at fire stations and car dealerships. So the light curtain, and you'll see the illustration here, the light curtain goes alongside the track of the door and it provides 3 foot of protection, right? It's gonna protect that entire area. Anything comes into that area, the door's gonna stop and reverse or not come down at all if it's a stationary object. So we're selling, again, we're using a lot of these at fire stations to protect the trucks. And here's another thing. Not sure if you guys knew this or not, but if a fire truck or the ladder is in any kind of accident, it has to get recertified. It gets taken out of commission, it has to get recertified before it can go back into service. So oftentimes if that door comes down or if they're driving down and the ladder gets caught on that bottom panel, right, that truck has to get recertified, costs them a lot of money, and it takes the truck out of commission for a few weeks. If you're armed with this information, this is a no-brainer for that chief, telling him, hey, if you invest in this light curtain, you can mount it down by the floor, up high, you can stack them. I can have one down low, one up top, but it'll make sure that that door never comes in contact with your truck, right? If you give them that information, again, usually it's a no-brainer. A lot of them will jump on it and say, I love that, because I did have my guy run through the door just last week, right? He'll have some story for you. It happens all the time. So these work great. One thing about these is they are not a monitored safety, okay? So how that impacts us is if you install these light curtains, you still need your safety sensors down at the bottom of the door, 6 inches off the floor. So you'll need some kind of monitored safety mounted or installed on this machine in order to unlock all those settings that we talked about, okay? All right, so next we've got the TLS1 card. I told you this is the guy that plugs into the logic board. This card gives you 3 relays, and I'm gonna pass it around for those that are in the room.
What's the light bars wire up to on the motor?
It wires up to the edge terminal. So he's asking about the light curtain and what it wires up to. It wires to the edge terminal on that logic board. Any monitored safety is going to go to LMEP. LiftMaster Entrapment Protection is what that stands for. It's a fancy way of us saying it's a monitored input. But any monitored safety is going to go to LMEP. Any safety that's not monitored goes to edge. This one goes to edge. All right, so TLS1 card gives you 3 relays, right? If I've got a red-green light, which is this guy here, for example, he's going to use 2 of those relays. One relay is going to activate the red light, one relay is going to activate the green light. I have a 3rd relay in case a customer has a horn, strobe, or something else that he's trying to control when the machine runs. So this card can do that for you. It's also got a handful of different programmable settings, right? I can make the light come on solid, I can make it flash. One big thing that this TLS1 card does for us is if I'm using a timer on this machine, I can program it so that it flashes the red light before that door closes. So let's say I've got a 20-second timer. I can tell it, okay, 5 seconds before that door closes, I want the red light to start flashing. And you will see that red light flashes for 5 seconds and then the door comes down. So it lets people know, hey, be careful, this door is about to come down. So that's a big feature that that little card provides. All right, so these are the traffic lights that we offer. So the one on the left is the more traditional one. We've offered that one for a few years. It's a little larger in size. We did introduce the one on the right there about a year ago, RGL-CTL, which is what I've got on the table here. And you can see it is extremely bright. It is a small fixture, extremely bright. This one is NEMA 4 rated, so we can mount this outside. It's fine in the elements. It can rain on it all day. It'll be just fine. This one's by far becoming the more popular traffic light that we offer, but we're gonna hold on to the other one, for now at least, because there are still people that like the more traditional traffic light, a little larger size. Either one of these 2 will interface with that TLS1 card that's going around, and these lights can be controlled off of that card. I told you about the FSTS mode, Fire Station Timer Secure mode, a second ago, right? This is that mushroom button I was talking about. So your traditional 3-button station will not activate the timer. But now I get that alarm, that call came in, I run up and I hit this mushroom button. That's going to open up the door for me and start the timer. If the door is already open, it just starts the timer, right? So now it starts counting the 30 seconds or whatever amount of time I've got programmed. Our motion detector. So this is the 50 Herc 2. This is the motion detector that we offer. Great motion detector. It could tell the difference between pedestrians and vehicles. It could tell the difference between cross traffic and oncoming traffic. And these are all programmable settings. Okay, so you can program these settings to whatever your customer may need. We do offer a remote control, this 50 Herc RC2. We do offer remote control that we recommend if you're starting to move a lot of these in your area. You can have the one remote control and keep it on your truck. Let's say you sold 10 of these around town. You can go to any one of the 10 and from the floor with the remote, you'll connect to it and I can program all these settings. Okay, so if you start moving these in your area, these 50 Hercs, definitely invest in the remote. You only need one. It doesn't stay with your customer, it stays with you, and you can talk to all your motion detectors with that one remote control. MyQ. So MyQ's been out for a while and it's really taken off in the residential marketplace. We've had it on commercial now for a few years. We've had it when we launched Logic 5, but here recently we've added some additional features that MyQ can do when coupled with these commercial machines. So you still get the basics. I can still monitor, right? I can pull out a phone and see if my door's open or closed. I can control the door remotely, so from that same device, my phone, I can open or close the door from anywhere in the world, really, as long as I've got service. But now we're bringing reporting into the conversation. So this is more on the commercial, warehouses where they'll have a number of doors, and they want to have better control of their area. Through MyQ, commercial MyQ, you can get this view that I'm looking at here. So you can see all your doors, and I can see the position of any one of my doors and how long they've been open for, if any of them are open. So in this screenshot, I can see door 1 has been open for 35 minutes. Depending what kind of business I'm running, that may or may not be important to me. So if we're talking about a cold storage warehouse, somewhere where, right, they're paying really good money to keep it 40 degrees in that warehouse. If this door is left open too long, they're losing. That's dollar bills going out of that warehouse. This software can help make sure that that door is closed all the time. It should be, right? If there's a truck there, obviously that's different, but this software can help a company save money by maintaining the doors closed. We're also taking it one step further where it can help with productivity. So because I can set up a notification that says, okay, if this door is open for 1 hour, I want you to send a push notification to the supervisor, letting him know that door's been open for longer than an hour, and now he can go down there and see what's going on. So that helps those warehouses, because let's say it takes you 50 minutes to load and unload a truck normally, right? I can set that 1 hour notification, and now I can keep track of my guys. Hey, why is that truck still here? He's been here for an hour, let's get him out of here. So it can help productivity in that manner as well. So it is a powerful tool. We recognize it's not for all businesses, but it also caters to a lot of businesses that we all work with. So it's just a conversation that you guys should be having with your customers to see how this software can help them, and we're here to help. So you can reach out to Service Spring, who can reach out to us, and we'll partner with you guys and see how we can help get the product working for your customers. All right, so we try to empower our dealers. We have put together, and we know in today's age, right, and I'm guilty of this too. Before I open a manual, I'm already on YouTube trying to find a how-to on what it is I'm trying to do, right? So we're jumping on that bandwagon, and we're still obviously going to provide the manual with everything that we sell, but we're also dedicating a lot of resources to putting together these videos for you guys, for dealers. You have to go to the LiftMaster website, but then you get access to all these videos. These that you see here were already done. They're available for you today. They can walk you, and you'll see some examples. The LC36A, so that's your light curtain. It tells you how to install the light curtain, how it's going to work. We get into troubleshooting 2 CDO diagnostic LEDs. It's going to break down all the LEDs, and if you're seeing a certain blink, it'll talk about that, what that code is and what you guys should be looking for. So in my opinion, this is a very valuable tool that you guys should keep in your back pocket. And if you're troubleshooting any one of our machines, if you're stumped, you can't figure it out, this is a great resource to turn to. It's an actual video that was shot that tells you how to troubleshoot or how to program all these settings. As I mentioned, these were already shot, but we had another 30 slated for this year, 2018. Some of those I know are already shot, but there's more coming. So check back regularly. There's a little option there once you log in that says any suggestion for future videos, something you'd like to see. So we're trying to work with you guys, on getting those videos put together to help you do your jobs. Any questions?